Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. You've got mail from me, Bella, and this week we are discussing change, comparison, and realizing that you're on your own timeline, because I think the last couple of episodes we've done an episode on grit, we've done an episode on finding your spark, we've done an episode on university, which is kind of unrelated to the other two, but I feel like all of these have been about understanding yourself and your own timeline. And I think if there's anything this year has taught me, it's that you can't control the timeline that life happens on, even if you wanted to, even with the best will in the world, even with doing absolutely every single thing in the right order that you think you should be doing it in, you can't control the timeline that things happen on, because I kind of feel like there is a bigger timeline. You know, there's a bigger timeline that you don't understand as to why things are happening the way they are. And sometimes things have to play out the way they have to play out. Sometimes things have to happen in order for something else to happen, which means that we don't always get things when we want to get them, which can often lead to moments of comparison when we look at our life and we compare it to someone else's and we think, am I doing enough? Is everything that I'm doing right? Like, should I be doing more? Is where I'm at the right place? And I think it's something that, as, you know, someone in their 20s, well, I'm going to get more comfy because, right, the issue with this new podcast setup, okay, I haven't got a long enough cable. This is the first issue. So I'm scared I'll pull my camera off, but we're just going to keep it like this, and I'm just going to have to uncomfortably hold this for the next 30 minutes, but it's fine. Where was I going? And as someone in their 20s, I think comparison is a thing that so many of us have. And Mel Robbins released a podcast, which I didn't actually know about. I just watched a TikTok and they mentioned it. And it's called The Scattering. That's how she defines it. Of this period of our lives where we kind of are all at different points. And that can lead to a lot of comparison, which is often, like, comparison is always silly because you've had so many different experiences that have got you to where you are now. But comparison is particularly silly in your 20s when you guys are at completely different points. And so that's what I wanted to talk about in this week's episode, because I think it's something that I wish I'd learned sooner, and I'm still learning it. I still struggle with it a lot, but it is something that I am getting better at. And I think that is something, how many times can I say something in one sentence? That is something that I really want to share with you guys. But first, life update. I was meant to start recording this 2 hours ago. I've just spent 2 hours reading, okay? Right, if you read any type of fantasy book, you know when it's the scene, the big scene, the scene that you've been reading like the last 400 pages for, it was the battle scene, and it all just came out of nowhere. And I was like, you know what, I'll just read for 10 minutes and then we'll see what happens. Like, then I'll record the podcast. I couldn't stop. I could not stop. My favourite character, like, it was a near-death experience. And so this is why we're a bit delayed today, but it's fine because I was also like, you know what, I haven't felt very well this week and I just need to rest. And, you know, life's short. It doesn't matter that I read for 2 hours. The world won't end. I'll just work a bit later tonight. It's fine. So that's what I've done this week. Other than that, I'm going out for dinner tonight. We're using First Table. Another good thing if you are... Actually, I think they do it in any city. Get on First Table. You get 50% off your food bill. And so we're going to Chow for dinner, which is like a pizza restaurant in Manchester. It is good. I haven't been in ages. The last time I went was probably like a year ago. They do really good pizza. But it's like a different type of pizza. And I just know they have like a ball of burrata in the middle. Like, that's their like signature thing. But the arancini was really nice last time as well. And so I'm excited. I feel like it'll be nice. Haven't been out for dinner in ages, especially with friends. And so this is exciting. And then I'm going to go for a hike tomorrow. And then on Sunday, my best friend's coming and I'm going to cook a roast dinner. And Louis, going to cook them both a roast dinner. I've decided I'm going to take control of the dinner situation on Sunday because I just know exactly how I want it to be. And this is really boring, but I've got a new pan, like a big pan, and I don't really know what to use it for. And so I'm thinking I can just put a whole chicken in there and then it would roast. I'm thinking that would work, but I don't really know if you roast chicken in a pan. Honestly, sometimes I realise I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's fine. We'll cook a roast dinner and it will be very lovely. And so this is my weekend plans. Other than that, this week has been nothing new to report, you know. And I think that's kind of, we don't always want to hear that. I think when we follow people online, we're like, everyone always looks like they have such fun, exciting things going on. And sometimes I'm like, I literally worked this week and that is all I managed to do. And that is all I did. And I still, like, that's okay. Like, that's fine. And that is enough because that is all of your time. And so only managing to fit, like, you might go to the gym or you might just come home and watch some TV. You're like, you've worked for all of those hours. It's fine if you just want to chill in the evenings. But anyway, that's besides the point. It's been a good week. I'm feeling good, feeling a bit poorly, So this is why we just needed a bit of a chill day. But this morning I went to go pick up my friend's Vinted parcel because good karma, people, do good things and the good things will come back to you. This is my biggest... I sometimes think that I take this too far of being nice to people because like I went to my laser appointment and this girl ran in. She's like, oh my God, my appointment's up, blah, blah, blah. I was a bit early because I always book them really late and I don't know why I do this to myself. And she was really late for her appointment and she missed it. And they were like, okay, we can fit you in, but if we fit you in, you have to go and tell blah, 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 blah. And they have to agree to their appointment being half an hour late. She came over and she was like, I'm so sorry, I'm really late. Is there any chance you would be half an hour late and I can just have my appointment? And I was like, I have no valid reason not to. I'm literally just going home after this and I walk home. And so I said yes, it was fine. And then it didn't get home till like 8:30, 9 p.m. at night, all because I'd said yes to this person who I literally had never met before. Anyway, in that moment when I came back, I thought maybe that wasn't a moment where I needed to be incredible. Like I should have probably been a bit more like, no, it's fine. But good karma attracts good karma. And so I feel like every single time I get the option to be someone like nice to someone or do something nice for someone else, especially a stranger, then I'm like, yes, I'll do it. So I ran to get my friend's Vinted parcel because she's away and it was going to get sent back. And it was, I'm not going to lie, quite far from my house, but I ran. Was perfect until the rains opened, until the heavens opened and it was soaking. Honestly, I was soaking. It was not a good run, but positive. Got myself an almond croissant from Sainsbury's on the way home because now they do taste a different almond croissants. That's new, I think. I don't think that's been done before and delicious. As much as I wish I would just be like, yeah, I'm just going to pay £5 for a croissant. I'm not doing that. It's why I really want a Sage coffee machine really badly for Christmas. I don't know how I'm going to afford it, guys. It's really expensive. I'm manifesting with all my might. I'm hoping that I can get a deal of some type, but I just want to be able to make my own coffee at home. I think it'd be really, really fun. And if I work from home Monday, like I'm acting like I get loads of coffee out and it would actually save me money. I currently never get coffee out because it's expensive. Maybe one at the weekend. So really I'm saving £5, but I just think it would be fun. And I want a milk frother. And this is I love a doing present, like a thing. I feel like the coffee machine would be an excellent thing, but my boyfriend doesn't really want it. And so I can't even go splits. So it's going to have to be a solo present. And so going to have to find some cash from somewhere or get blessed on Facebook Marketplace with someone not realizing what it is. But then I'm always a bit worried that it's going to be dodgy. Oh my God. If anyone has a Sage coffee machine with a milk frother, the milk frother is key and wants to gift it to me or wants to sell me it, please get in touch. Anyway, we should probably get on to the content part of this week's podcast episode because the time is, 12:23. Not the best, but it's fine. I've got my smear test today. I'm quite anxious about it, but we're not going to get into that. I'll report back next week. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine, but I do feel a little bit nervous. I just think those types of appointments they're always just uncomfortable, aren't they? And so we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It will be fine. The thing is that I think we all like to think we have this in-depth knowledge about how our life is going to turn out because it gives us confidence and makes us feel kind of safe and protected if we have this like knowledge about what our life is going to be. But then all of a sudden you get older and your life changes and things change and your friendships change and your future changes. And then all of a sudden you think, oh, that idea that was keeping me safe and protecting me from the idea of what could be, the idea of like a spontaneous future, all of those things are gone. And the truth is that I never really knew how it was all going to work out anyway. But telling myself I did, telling myself I had all of the answers and had figured it all out and that it was going to be this, gave me that sense of comfort and peace. But the reality is that like that's not the case, and that never was the case. It was just a comfort blanket. And you realize this more and more. You realize they're not lies that you've told yourself. They're just like truths that were never truths. You realize you told yourself them over and over and over again because it makes everything feel a little bit more comfortable. But just because those truths aren't there doesn't mean things are going to go wrong. And I think there's a lot in this life where we've kind of, there are things we want to happen. And I'm not saying like, because the tricky thing is like you want to manifest your future. You want to have this life that you want to have. And I'm not saying like to tell yourself that those things aren't going to happen. But I think a big part of like a lot of my self-doubt over the last year and the last couple of years has been about the timing of when things happen. Like I always knew I felt like I was gonna, the podcast would turn into something, social media would turn into something. The idea that I'd find a job that I liked, or I'd find, a flat that I felt like was home, or a person, friendship groups. Like, I had this deep knowing about these things. They would happen, but there'd be so many moments where I'd be like, they're not happening fast enough. They're not happening anywhere near time. Like, they are not happening quick enough. There are so many things that are taking too long. It's not quick enough. It's not, it's not on the timeline that I'm expecting it to happen. And then it not being on the timeline that I expected it to happen would make me really question, is this actually going to happen at all? Like, if I just convinced myself of a false future that actually isn't there, and what if it was all wrong? And then I'd start going down this line of thought, which was not the best line of thought, but just thinking like, well, if I've convinced myself that everything is fake, like I've just literally ran down this path where there is nothing fruitful coming for it, and then I'd start comparing myself to everyone else, and it would just be like, oh my God, everyone else is doing so much better. And they've done, they're on 100,000 followers, they're on 50,000 followers, they're getting brand deals with these persons, that person that I did my master's with, oh my God, they've got that job now. Like, just so many things, like we said last week about LinkedIn, so many things make you doubt where you are in your life. And hearing Mel Robbins' podcast hearing the TikTok about the scattering made me think a lot about, actually, maybe that is the reason. Maybe that is the thing, the fact that so many of us are in different points of our lives right now. So many of us are working out who we want to be. So many of us are going down different paths, and we are comparing ourselves. We are comparing ourselves and thinking that we should have achieved things that we haven't achieved yet because other people around us have either achieved them, or our parents achieved them, or our grandparents achieved them. And we think that we should have done it because they did it. But we forget that there are so many things that go into people that make certain opportunities more likely, more successful. It makes us compare ourselves in our life and the things that we're doing because we think that because someone else has done it, it's more possible. And the thing is, comparison is the thing that makes everything miserable. Comparison is the thing that makes me second guess myself, which makes me think, am I doing enough? Which makes me really wonder, is all of this going to work out? It's the thing that makes me feel the most inadequate, even on a week where you should be really, really happy with everything that you've done. And I think it's because when you look at someone else and everything that they've achieved, you can only see what they've achieved. You can't see the full picture. You can't see what they're feeling like they're lacking in. You can't see what you feel like they're not doing well enough in. You can't see someone's own perspective on their own life. You can only hear and know your own perspective on your own life. And so when you look at theirs, all you can see is everything you think you're missing is found in them. And you can only imagine a life where you have all of those things and everything would be perfect and everything would be solved. But the truth is that we are all living our own lives, and people are going to do things quicker than you and slower than you, but all of it is irrelevant because this is your life. This is your life. And the sooner you realize that you are running your own race, it doesn't matter if something happens to someone sooner than you. Just because they're succeeding doesn't mean that you're not going to succeed. And I also used to have this toxic view of success, like it was like a limited currency in the world, that if you got something, let's say you blew up on Instagram and I saw it, I'd be like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. That's me gone. I'll never make it. It's all of the success in the world has gone now like a power. Like it was like a success was like this power that it wasn't like overflowingly abundant, that it didn't really matter. And doing that meant that anytime, it's a bit like, I'm going to admit it, but it's not like a nice character trait, but when someone would have something good happen to them and it would be something that I wanted, rather than celebrating their win, I'd feel jealous. And I would obviously, it wouldn't come across because I'm quite good at covering it, because it's an ugly emotion, but it's an emotion nonetheless. And I'd find myself I wouldn't, not in the moment, but I'd go to bed that night and I'd just be like, well, that's that then. My future's over. Can't happen to me anymore. They've got it. They've won it. It's theirs. As if that's how success works, and that's not how success works. And success has never worked like that. And having that limiting belief about how everything in the world could work together meant that I was also thinking about the people surrounding me and not thinking that I could learn. The fact that people around you succeed means that you can also succeed because you can learn from them. There is an infinite amount of success. Just because someone else does something doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to do it. And our 20s, filled with comparison, absolutely filled with comparison, and filled with different people succeeding, and filled with people doing better than you and worse than you. And if you start to validate your own experiences by the experiences of the people around you, you're going to fail. And fail not in the sense of like you're not going to do well, but your own understanding of who you are, like that's going to be the real thing that ends up not being the best. Because if you start validating yourself from the people around you, you're not going to have any of that self-confidence within yourself. You're not going to have any of that kind of, what we were talking about last week, that grit. That saying that like, I trust me, I'm going to get myself through this. This is going to be okay. And I think a lot about comparison and understanding where you are and being content with your own self-progress comes down to understanding yourself, comes down to thinking, you know what, I am actually doing good enough. I am trying my best. I am trying my hardest. It comes down to thinking like, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough on my own. I am enough regardless of how other people see me, regardless of how I weigh up against someone else, regardless of how my achievements look against someone else's. Like what I'm doing is enough because I'm trying my best. And I just think there are so many different people in your lives and in all of our lives that are achieving different things. I have friends that's bought houses, some that are traveling, some that have quit their jobs, some that have been promoted. Like every single person I know is at a different point in their life. And the fact that they are all at that different point in their lives means that when I compare myself to them, I can always find an aspect of their life that they're doing better than me at. Because the fact is that we're not the same, but they'll be doing something that I feel like I'm lacking in. And that mindset isn't a healthy one to be in. Because like we said, that jealousy, that emotion about someone else being successful, meaning that you're not, that's not true. That is not true. We are not all against each other. And I think you see this quite a lot with social media about influencers being pitted against each other. You know, is pitted the right word? Like influencers, this girl versus this girl, or blah, 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 this actress versus this actress. And it's just like, there is enough success for everyone. Just because someone else does it doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel like you're not able to. Should be more, if anything, like more confidence to you because literally someone's done it, which means you can do it, which means it's possible. It's so much harder to be the first person to do anything. The fact that someone else has done it literally shows you that it's possible. And I think this is what I wish I could just tell you all about comparison. It's going to steal all of the joy about all of your achievements because there will always be someone doing something better than you in some element of your life. And there'll be someone worse than you. But no one will ever be you, okay? No one will ever be the exact same as you because there is such a unique experience that has gone into your own point of view, your perspective, your experience of something different. And that is the thing that we all forget. We forget that like, life is big and it's not a competition. And sometimes I find myself stressing. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't gained enough followers. And then I'm like, Bella, you're literally on a floating rock. You are on a floating rock. None of it matters. All of these things we've created are things we've created ourselves. Like, you know, TikTok and social media. It's so irrelevant. It's all so irrelevant. What matters is what you think of yourself. What matters is the connection around you. What matters is how much joy you find in your world. What matters ultimately, I think, is like love. And as cringe as that sounds, I know it sounds cringe, but it does. What matters is the love you feel for yourself, the love you feel for the people around you, the love you feel for the life that you create. Because all of these things, the social media or like whatever your goals are, I'm saying social media a lot because I think the issue I have with social media is it's like quite a quantifiable goal. And so I can really like be like, I'm lacking because I'm not growing enough followers and blah, blah, blah. Like it's very easy to be like that because it's a very quantifiable, you can see it. Whereas like it's harder with other things. And so it's easy to compare myself and my number of following because I can just like compare it to someone else. It's so easy. And for some reason, that is the thing that I like compare my life against the most, which is, I don't know why. I just feel like I'm really trying to get better at being like, what matters isn't, you know, this numbers game that we're all playing. Like, as much as it does matter in the sense of like you're trying to create your life for yourself and this is your purpose and this is what you want to do, and like as much as those things do matter, none of it really matters. What matters really is the connections that we have with the people around us. I think that's what it all comes down to. And that's why comparison is so silly because, you know, you're ruining a connection with someone else just because they've done something and you think you can't do it. You think you should be there. You are using your emotions and how you feel about something to project onto a relationship with someone that's going to like hinder that relationship with them because you're going to feel jealous or you're going to feel inadequate or you're going to feel not good enough when none of those things are true. That's why comparison is so silly and so annoying and such, honestly, ruins everything. Because no matter how good you are doing, someone will be doing better. And that's not saying that you're doing bad. That's just the reality of life. Unless you're like the number one gold Olympic athlete. You know, if you keep, I think it is if you keep living this life where you're constantly chasing success in the eyes of others, you are never going to be able to run fast enough for yourself. You know, you're never going to be content with what you've created. You're never going to know when what you've done is good. You're never going to have had that like sense of achievement about something, because there's always going to be something. And you can't let there always be something, because sometimes you have got to be proud of yourself. You've got to know that you've tried hard to get somewhere. You've got to know when to celebrate your wins. You've got to know when you've done enough. And that is something that so many of us don't. That's something that so many of us just don't want to focus on, because we're so eager to chase this success that makes us define our whole lives, because the success is what we feel validated by. And it's not a healthy way to be. So I know you have big goals and big aspirations. There's things you want to do. And I know you look at other people achieving those goals and you think, God, I'm not doing well enough. I am not achieving things fast enough. Everything should be going so much quicker. And it's just this comparison, which is really not helpful. It's like comparing an English paper to a French paper. Actually, it's like comparing an English paper to a chemistry paper. Okay? Or it's like comparing how quickly an orange is growing to a carrot. Both of those things aren't the same, so how can you compare them? It makes no sense. It's not the right way that it's meant to be. And so, please stop. Because you don't need to. Comparing yourself to someone else isn't going to tell you anything about yourself other than the fact that you don't think you're doing well enough within you. That's all it's going to say. Because you cannot judge yourself against someone else, because your stories, the journey of how you got there is so different. It doesn't impact or reflect anything on you. All it does is their story reflects them. And I need you to realise that, because otherwise you're never going to be happy in anything that you do. And I want you to live a life that's like filled with a lot of happiness and a lot of joy and a lot of things that make you feel good. And the only way I think you're going to feel good is if you start to actually feel good about you and realise your own achievements are enough and what you've done enough. And I think it's something we all need to learn a little bit more. But anyway, on to the question part of this week's podcast. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, at Mel from Bella, I put a question box up every single Thursday, Friday, and people send in questions for the podcast, and that's where I get to interact with all of you. And so if you don't already follow me, please do, because it's where you're going to keep up to date with all of the podcast announcements. First one. Advice on starting a new job on Monday. As someone who's recently started a new job, I feel like quite well prepped for this. Depends how close you are, but go on the Sunday to find out where the office is, because I actually didn't do that this time, but I wish I had, because I always get a little bit nervous that Sunday evening, being like, what if it's actually nowhere near what I think it's going to be? Second piece of advice, be kind to yourself. Realize that this is a lot of change you're about to go through, okay? And so it's all right to be a little bit nervous. And I think just having a lot of compassion for yourself, realizing that it's all right to find this a bit nerve-wracking. It's all right to find this next couple of weeks hard, but like, it's going to be okay. It is not going to feel this nerve-wracking forever. I promise you that. It's going to become a new normal, and it's going to happen quicker than you think. And also remembering, like, the world is full of good people. Like, it's nerve-wracking starting somewhere new, but you will settle into it. And it's very exciting too. And then actual practical advice, make next week as easy as you can for yourself, okay? Meal prep, get your lunches ready. If you're going to do that, like, work out how you're going to make that week as easy as you can, because you're going to be tired. Starting a new job is exhausting. Everything is new, okay? Nothing is second nature. Your brain is constantly on. And so make it easy for yourself. Be kind to yourself. And good luck. Let me know how it goes. I'm excited to hear. What do you do when you struggle with racing thoughts? I actually had this quite badly yesterday, and I don't know why. My heart rate was like at 90. I was really anxious, but there was nothing really to be anxious about. And again, I'm not a therapist, so I don't know exactly. I don't know the, reach out to the people around you if you're really struggling with these types of things. I'm not a qualified professional. But the things that I do when I'm struggling with racing thoughts have been reaching out to the people around me, actually, telling people that I'm struggling. I didn't used to tell people. I used to just think like, oh, it's okay, I'll just get through this, it'll be fine. When actually, that really cheesy saying, like, a problem shared is a problem halved, but it's actually very true. It is a problem halved. You're not on your own with it anymore, and it makes things so much easier. Because often, like, I'll say to Louis, oh, I'm worrying about this, and then because he's not in the worrying spiral, he can provide like a very logical response to it. And I'm like, oh, you're right. It's all completely fine. And that really helps me. Taking deep breaths and realizing that my thoughts are racing has been a really helpful one. Like actually consciously being like, I'm okay. This is okay. Thinking logically about a situation is probably my get out of jail free card every single time. Sometimes that doesn't work, and so going for a walk or a little distraction can also really help. But the biggest thing for me is telling people when I'm having a racing thought about something. Because the people around you love you and they care and they want you to feel good. And often them just sending them a quick message saying like, I'm really worrying about this. Like, what do you think? Like that, their response and them comforting me and makes me feel not on my own with it, which is really helpful. And I think we'll keep it at 3 questions today because this has been quite a long podcast episode. But thank you for listening. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at Mail from Bella. And if you want to watch the video podcast in YouTube, you can do that too. I'll leave the link in the show notes. But I love you so much. Thank you for listening and I can't wait to speak to you next week. I love you. Bye. Mwah.